Morning, welcome to chapel. Let me just shift this a little bit. I'm going to wrap up our series of 4 chapels this morning. Before I begin today's chapel topic, I'm going to ask you to perhaps turn to your neighbor and discuss the following question. Okay, following question, and it is this. What or whom is the most influential factor in your life? 10 to 15 seconds, just discuss with your neighbor. What is the most influential factor in your life? Okay, how many of you would say your parents? Show of hands. Friends? What is the most influential factor in your life? What if I told you that the most influential factor in your life is your smartphone? Because according to one study, we now check our smartphones every 4.3 minutes of our waking time. This is not the time to take out your smartphones to prove my point, but I want you to think about that. And even for Christians, we think about God should be the biggest influence in my life. But I want you to think about how often you interface with God vis-a-vis how often you interface with your smartphones. Our lives are very, very smartphone-centric. We use it to set the alarm by which we wake up. On our commutes, we use it to listen to music, or to watch videos, or to check our social media accounts. Right? We get to school and we use it to check stuff for our studies. We use it to navigate our way around the city. We use it to check when the next bus is coming and schedule our days. Some of us, if we leave our smartphones behind, we didn't bring it to school, we feel quite lost without it. So today I'm not going to say, well, smartphone usage is bad, social media is bad, but perhaps like fire, a smartphone makes a good servant but a terrible master. And what are some tools, what are some handles that we can have this morning that will help us to allow us, our smartphones to serve us instead of the other way around? I'm going to suggest 3 areas of consideration. The 3 areas are information, entertainment, and connection. Okay, information, entertainment, and connection. So let's start with the first information. Google is our friend, right? We use it to quickly search for information that we need, and with our smartphones we have it at our fingertips. But often the filtering of the results are left entirely to our discretion. So fake news is perhaps the buzzword of our times, and we think that once we know that it exists, we can easily discern it. Not necessarily true. Let me illustrate. So I want you to imagine if you are planning for a trip abroad, what is the website many of us will consult? Yes, TripAdvisor, right? We use it to search for things like where to stay, what restaurants to eat at, what places to go. I'm sure you will mention some other website. But TripAdvisor is quite a popular website. So I came across this really hilarious true story. Some of you may have read about it. I think it went viral. So what happened was this guy decided, I want to make my restaurant become the top rated restaurant in London. But the restaurant was this guy's garden shed. So what this guy did was using a burner phone and an intentionally vague address, he created this appointed-only restaurant on TripAdvisor called The Shed at Darwin. It's literally a shed. Huh? Okay. He then had friends and collaborators speckle the site with fictional reviews, glowing about the early taste and freshness of the food, like this one. And they actually did not serve any customers at all. How did this rise to number one? Well, looking at this, it's like maybe part of it was the online pictures of very delicious food. Unfortunately, this is actually a picture of a sponge that has been painted along with Gillette shaving foam amongst other ingredients. Truth isn't always easy to discern, but more crucially, not all information is equally useful. Okay? The internet, Google, can tell us the how and what, but very rarely does it tell us the why. Why do I need to know this? Why should I read this article? Do I really need to be at the cutting edge of my knowledge of internet needs? Yes, someone said. Must I watch all the latest viral videos? And will this actually matter for all eternity? When I mentioned like the Bible, some of you may immediately think, well, this is old, outdated, out of fashion. But in this contains information not only for this life, but all eternity. It's invaluable. And so perhaps we need to consider switching this off in order to read this, to tune out the voices of the world and tune into the Word of God. So that's about information. Not all information is equally useful. The next is entertainment. Okay? What is perhaps the most common picture when you step on the bus or when you step on an MRT train? Okay, you'll probably see something like this, right? People on their gadgets, on their devices. So follow my train of thought. Many of us will use the word tired to describe how you're feeling frequently, am I right? And it's very legitimate. You have countless tutorials, assignments, lectures, you've got CCA commitments, you've got church commitments, you've got family commitments, etc., etc., etc. But I want you to think, what do you often do during your free time, your downtime? Well, you're on your devices. You're on your devices. Whereas once our commutes, perhaps, were sometimes used for silence and contemplation, we filled it up with entertainment. And it's no wonder that our hearts and our minds are weary, tired, and worn out. We have not given our minds and hearts a moment's respite. So prayer, meditation, contemplation are spiritual exercises which may be lost, but perhaps should be rediscovered. One last point about entertainment. Pornography. And I'm going to let a short video do my talking point. Not a pornography video, of course.
One has to wonder how exactly this may affect our desires and perception of sexuality. Moreover, how does it affect our sex lives? Pornography constitutes about 25% of all search engine requests and is the fourth most common reason people give for going on the internet. And while it may seem to simply facilitate an instinctual sexual response linked to millions of years of evolution, the truth is, pornography has dynamically changed over time, ultimately molding our tastes and desires. The not-so-shocking truth is that pornography has profound consequences for the brain and acts in many ways like a drug. With prolonged exposure, your tolerance is increased, and many often find themselves addicted. Though it's not a physical substance, it leads to the same general loss of control, the compulsiveness to seek out the activity despite negative consequences, and withdrawal when it goes away. Much like that of gambling or running, for example. The issue is that continued exposure can cause long-term or even lifelong neuroplastic change in the brain. Dopamine is released as a reward whenever we accomplish something, whether it be eating to sustain life or sexual activity to produce future life. And as dopamine consolidates neural connections in order to drive us to perform the same activity in the future. In other words, it alters and forms the brain cells to motivate certain actions. It rewires your brain. The National Institutes of Health measure drug addictiveness by testing rats. The rat is trained to press a button in order to get a drug, and the harder it works indicates how addictive the substance is. It turns out that the more addictive a drug is, the more dopamine we see released. And while there is, unfortunately, no rat porn that we can give to them, we do know that dopamine is also released during sexual excitement, which pornography plays right into. The more time you spend doing it, the more dopamine gets released, which reinforces the behavior and makes you not only desire it in the future, but require it. And as you begin to imagine these images away from the computer or while having sex, they become reinforced. Furthermore, each orgasm releases even more dopamine, which consolidates the connections made during the session. It's a feedback loop that becomes harder to escape. And just like a drug, your tolerance for visual stimulation has now compounded, making it more difficult to be turned on by reality. Pornography addiction can often lead to finding your mate less attractive. The good news is, it doesn't have to be permanent. Usually when people understand the mechanism and realize it's affecting their relationships, they stop. The brain is often described as the use it or lose it system because the neural connections you stimulate grow stronger and desire to be activated, while the ones you ignore become weakened. Much like your muscles, which, if sitting still all day, itch for activity, but after prolonged non-use, they become complacent. Luckily, because of this use it or lose it brain, the same neuroplastic system that proliferates these habits can also be used to acquire healthier ones.
Pornography has been devastating. So a whole generation of particularly young men and increasingly young women have had relationships, dating relationships, friendships, and marriages destroyed by pornography. They've been conditioned by pornography to view people as objects to satisfy our lust and desire rather than people to be respected and loved. What's worse is with the ubiquitous smartphone, we have almost instant access and relative anonymity, recipe for disaster. So I don't say this to berate or criticize any one of you, because I wrestled with it too from a young age. When I first discovered videos lying around in my house, I had been exposed to it. So the temptation is there, and for the rest of my life I could find it. And so that's my invitation to all of us to say no to pornography. That's the second part about entertainment and our smartphones. Finally, I want to talk about connection. Right? One of the main uses of our phones is to connect with others, to communicate with others. So whether it's phone calls, whether it's video calls, whether it's messages, emails, or the many social networks that we have, we use it to stay in touch and connect with our family and friends. And it's particularly useful if you don't get to see them. For example, those who are abroad. The strange and ironic thing about social media is it's often not very social at all. I remember very distinctly there's this one time, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, my wife and I, we were celebrating our wedding anniversary. We went out to TWG, it's a very nice place. We were having dinner, very nice time, we were just talking. And over the midst of that dinner, we happened to notice this couple behind us, right? And the lady was dressed to the nines. She's very, very gorgeous. And on her countenance, it was like she seemed very excited to be there on this date. The ironic thing was her boyfriend, throughout the course of the dinner, more or less, was constantly on the phone, speaking through social media, which was very, very sad as we observed. One of the co-founders of Facebook, Sean Parker, once commented something about Facebook, social media in particular, yes? Says it literally changes your relationship with society, with each other. It probably interferes with productivity in weird ways. So compulsive social media habits mean we are often exchanging the present moments with real people for endless series of someone else's past moments, whether we're clicking through Instagram pictures or otherwise. Right? We are lost in this, and there are real people directly in front of us who should have our full attention. Dear friends, your smartphone can be used to enhance your relationships, or it may be a great hindrance to them. How would you choose to use your smartphone? We all know that there are great pitfalls to it, for example, online bullying, radicalization, etc. And here's a very sobering warning from scriptures. And Jesus says this. He says, "But I tell you that every careless word that people speak, they shall give an account for it in the day of judgment." So not only real words, but our every tweet, our every Facebook comment or update will come before Almighty God. Whether it's real words or virtual words, we could build someone up or we could tear someone down. And sticks and stones may break my bones, but my texts and my messages are pushing eternal souls in one of two directions, towards heaven or towards hell. So I want you to let this principle guide you in what you put out from your phones. You see, none of us ever relate to mere mortals. The person sitting to the left and to the right, in front and back of you are eternal souls that are made in the image of God and will last for eternity. We were created for connection. We reach out to our smartphones to touch it in order to connect with people. And the most amazing thing to me about God is that God reaches out to us, to touch us, to connect with us. Almighty God took the form of a human being, came to this earth in the life of His Son Jesus Christ. He walked this earth, He identified with us, and then He took upon Himself our sins on the cross to die and rise again so that we could be reconnected with God. And now, when we open up the scriptures to read His word through the inspiration of His Spirit, He continues to touch our hearts. He continues to connect with us. I'm going to land on this one video. It's a very powerful video. It has touched me tremendously. I'm going to show it to you before I do some summation about that. this verse from the scriptures. The Bible says it was for freedom that Christ set us free. And therefore keep standing firm and do not be subject again to the yoke of slavery. God wants us to be free. Free from pornography, lust, free from smartphone addictions, free from the need to gain approval from other people, free from the need to put up a front. We do not have to be envious of other people's Instagram accounts. You're free to live